I've been coming here since '91, and that river's moved over 1 kilometre since I've been coming here. I've watched a snag that used to be up against the left-hand bank of the river is now almost on the top of the hill on the opposite bank. The only things that don't move are the rock bars and the creek mouths.
The daily's always changing, so you do need to come down and still do your homework even if you fish regularly.
This system's got lagoons running into it, creek junctions everywhere, and massive tides, which are pretty different to what I'm used to. It's amazing watching, if there's a spring tide coming up the river, just watching it come over the sandbars when it's running in, it's pretty spectacular. I mean, you need to safely navigate the river, there's a lot of timber in it, and also just to find fish movements and tide movements and try to work out a game plan for the comp.
I've been here for a week and a half, and the river's sort of changed a lot in that time. Just the whole orientation of the river's changed, but come the bigger tides, it'll change again.
Can I just say, you really have to respect this mother of all rivers. She's beautiful. She's got to be the prettiest river in the Northern Territory.
Never been here before, never seen the Daly River, and I've never just had that wild Australia experience. A lot of my barramundi fishing has been in lakes and in populated areas.
Daly's quite unique in that you think you've got it sussed and it changes the next day. So you've got dynamics of tide, you've got dynamics of the weather, dynamics of bait.
I was a little bit nervous because everyone has their perspectives on the Daly River. It can be dangerous with the tides and the river changes every day.
The Daly is probably Australia's most iconic fishing river.
I think the challenge is not against the river and the fish, it's against yourself.
You just can't explain it to people who don't understand it. They're like, will I see a crocodile? And I'm like, yeah, you'll see 100 most days.
I don't know a lot about the Daly River. I've been educated by a couple of friends, and every year we learn a little bit more.
It's just like untouched land pretty much. It's still so pristine and beautiful. The rivers are just amazing.
The cool thing about the Barra Nationals is you're in the middle of the wild, but you're looked after. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, you're right next to the river, you've got a comfortable place to sleep, and you can experience that wild territory from the comfort of the park here.
This is the prime time. This is when you want to be here. All around Australia, everybody talks about the runoff in the Territory. This is what's happening right now.
The Barra Nationals is basically the premium Barra event in the country. I mean, it deserves the title, the Barra Nationals. It's big in terms of number of competitors, it's big in terms of the show that they put on, and it's big in terms of the fish. This is a pretty unique event in the sense that this event draws competitors from all over. They're from everywhere, and they're all hoping to take home that big trophy. Barra fishermen love and respect these fish beyond belief. Most of the good Barra fishermen have been done in by big fish so many times in their life that they could write a book just about the fish that got away, and they mean it, particularly in this sort of event where they're using barbless hooks, which makes it extra hard for them. You can never let up on the pressure because the barra will just shake its head and then the hooks will come free.
We've had people come up here that have hardly fished before in their life and have a great time. We've had people that do nothing but fish, come up here, have a fantastic time. We've got a fairly substantial area to fish in. The boundaries go all the way down to Clear Creek and all the way up to the crossing. So there's 70 odd kilometres. And there's a lot of famous spots in between. You know, we've got Harry's Rock Bar, we've got Diesel Creek, Catfish Creek, Yes Bends, the main rock bar, No Fish Creek. All these places are famous for fish.
Usually tournament fishing is a day, 2 days. The Barra Nationals, it's a 5-day event. It's like a test match of fishing. So it tests both the anglers, their stamina and their gear. Inevitably, in every tournament, people catch big fish, and the scoring system in this tournament really favours big fish.
It was amazing. Just the milling around of all those vessels as the sun's coming up and there's a little bit of mist on the water and everyone's got their lights on and you're watching it all float around and then the sun comes up. It's the prettiest thing. That countdown when they hold up that flame and they light the cannon, and it's a real cannon, it bangs and the whole thing shot backwards. And it was just an amazing event to be a part of.
The strategies come into play. How fast your boat is, how quick can you get from one spot to another. Where you've got prime spots, you might be wanting to chase the tide all the way up the river. So you'll catch the tide for 10 minutes at one spot, no good there, then you'll race the tide up the river, catch it at another spot. It's about trying to be at those spots at the time when you think the fish are going to be there and going to be hungry enough to chew on your lure.
Day one, we had a different approach. 58 teams went through Browns, and we turned the other way and went upstream. There was only 4 of us up there. Yeah, we did something different and it paid off.
Day one for On the Move, they had what I would consider to be a reasonable start. They managed 280 on the first day.
We had a reasonably good strategy to start up high and fish the creek mouths. This morning the fish were all right in the creek mouth itself, which was crowded out. So after an hour, whether that was right or wrong, made a decision to go down, and then we just didn't get the bites today, but it was a learning day and we'll fix up a few strategies tomorrow and hopefully do a lot better.
Team Dead Fishy had, I think, what you would call an exploratory start to the event. They were struggling to find the fish, definitely, on that first day. But you know what? That can happen. You can recover from a bad first day, but you can't continue to have bad days after that. Edge rods, they were right up there on the first day. So you got the best fisher in the country, competition-wise, with Craig Griffiths on board, and he's had a long-time partner in Kareem Ritter, and Wally's obviously fished with them before. So they're a team that really knows what they're doing. They had a plan and they knew exactly how they were going to engage it.
Yeah, we called them the Vikings. We called them a lot of other things as well. But they'd just move into an area and pillage and tear it apart and move on. It was very impressive. We almost clapped.
We're just hitting them before everyone else gets up there to hit them. They don't think they're there yet, but they are.
They're not just throwing a lure in hope. They actually know exactly where those fish are and they're targeting them. So they will come in, they will echo sound, then if they don't see anything, they'll move on. I don't think in this sort of an event, the local knowledge helps as much. It helps in the sense that you're going to know somewhat the river and where the fish are, but modern electronics takes some of that out of the play.
Well, we hear a lot of stories with the daily, turn your sounders off. Or your fish finders, you don't need them, but we'll be going on a bank, 1, 2 fish there. We come down there 3 times a day and bang fish straight away. So we get a spot there and we see fish out the side, we know we can catch them. But if you watch all the other boats, how they do it, they're doing a little bit different than us.
I've just been flicking a heavier plastic, so I've been trying to watch getting in the snags, but I've also been chucking it right up on the edges, right into the snags.
Barra Apprentice on day one had a pretty good start. They got out of the blocks with 203 points.
It's hard fighting the fish with a barbless lure. Yeah, it was good fun. It was a hard fish. We got it in the net. I was very excited.
I've got to tell you, she was whoop-de-dooey with that. I think they heard her all up the river. It was great.
They make everybody wear a skirt until they've actually got their first fish. It's kind of a rite of passage, one of those little rituals. You don't get to lose the skirt until you've got your first fish. So the fact that she managed to do that on the first day, she'd be really happy with that.
Beck lost the skirt first. I have lost my skirt. We've got 1 skirt to lose.
Territory has massive tides and it moves those fish up and down the river. So it's like trying to solve a puzzle that's got 4 dimensions, and the guys that do it well are the guys that are going to win this tournament. Fishing is very similar to gambling. You can be lucky and do well, but the guys who are really skillful, they make their own luck, and they're the ones that shift the odds in their favour. They're at the right place at the right time, and they're luckier more than other people.
Really on day 2, it's the story of 3 boats. So it's Edge Rods, Team Smarky NT and Tackle World Revo. Those 3 boats have pretty much blitzed it.
We'll start early, then we'll just drift down the banks, and we'll probably be around that S-bends when it starts dropping. It's after lunch. Might go down there to start with, have a look, because that tide's just starting to push in hard, see how quick it's running. If it's not running quick, we might fish there for half an hour, and then we slip back up and just do it where the water's not running so hard, and don't want to miss out if it's a good bite down there.
Barra Apprentice did not have a terribly good second day. They had a 0, and that happens. Barra fishing is hard at the best of times, and they just couldn't find the fish, or they couldn't manage to land one on that day.
We had some days where we were a complete donut, didn't get any fish whatsoever. You think, what are you doing wrong after getting fish on one day and then not getting nothing the next day? But it was nothing that we were doing wrong. We were trying our hardest to match the conditions and everything else. Yeah, there was ups and downs, definitely.
On the move, however, they managed to be reasonably consistent. While they're not right up there, for a Victorian team, they're actually, in my books, they're actually doing pretty well. Particularly as they got one younger guy there, and I think it's always harder when you've got sort of mix of ages and stuff like that. Day 2, Dead Fishy definitely found the fish. They had a blinder. They're only probably 300-400 points away from the leading pack, but in an event like this, 300 or 400 points can be really, really hard to get unless you know how to get the really big fish. Like the one way in which you can catch up if you're behind is you can catch 2 or 3 big barrel, like 1.2 meters, but those fish are very few and far between.
We've had 3 pretty good days. We've got some big ones today, which was good. With the big tides, it's pushing the big ones further up the system, so we're just trying to catch them at various staging locations that they hold up. We sat near one of the Territory Boys teams, got into a few nice ones. We're hoping to get there again today, but she packed out like the Sydney Mall, I think, so it was a bit hard to muscle in and around the trollers and that, so we ended up getting a few around the edges, which was good, but we had to change our game plan a little bit to find some bigger ones.
We are starting out looking for the right conditions. We're casters. One of the things we've learnt today is that the casting only works in the slower water. The water sped up today. We're building to spring tides. The stuff that was working for us is no longer manageable, so we're having to resort to trolling, which is not our bag, but we understand what we need to do. And it's about understanding fish eating habits, where they're going to sit, and their ambush predatory nature. So for us, we're using technology as well. The tides are very confusing on a river this size, and we're not quite sure where the fish are going to be sitting when. So the sounder is extremely important.
Samaki and Edge Rods are actually in the 2,000 points ahead. So it really is neck and neck on day 3, but the reality is that you have to get big fish now if you're back in the pack. Day 4 is, if we were using AFL terms, this is the championship quarter. This is the 3rd quarter. And this is the one where you cannot make any mistakes. And the bad news for Team Samaki is they bombed out with a 0. They could not have afforded to do that. So they ended up with a 0, and Edge Rods ended up with 1,000 points. Given the fact that the number of fish are going to decrease again, I suspect on day 5, I would be thinking that this is going to be a very challenging race. But one big fish, and who knows, they're back in the game.
We were just doing a slow trawl through many boats down a place called No Fish, and hooked up. The fish jumped straight away. I knew it was a big fish. I didn't realise how big, but we knew it was a good fish. Didn't come without drama, of course. Problem was when the fish jumped, my line went very loose and my reel stopped reeling. Well, I thought the fish was gone. Once it jumped, we didn't see it again for a while, and then we realised that the fish was still there. So I started reeling and jumped again, and I saw it and realised that, well, this is a big one. This isn't, and that's when the adrenaline kicks in and your legs turn to jelly, and your hands are shaking, and we had about 30 boats around watching, which is, all these professionals, and watching me trying to get this fish in, and I just reefed it in as hard as I could, as fast as I could. So it was just so exhilarating. I think I was jumping up and down like a lunatic, but you are so in the moment. Like, I remember someone came to me and said, the roar on that river when the fish was caught was amazing. We didn't even hear that. You are just so in the moment, and we were so happy as a team bringing this fish in, and we just couldn't believe it actually happened. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it.
There's all of this chemistry that's going on in the body at this point. There's endorphins, there's adrenaline, and particularly if they've caught a big fish. Like, they've worked out, so they've got a lot of lactic acid in their muscles. The battle between man and fish is one of the last truly old, ancient battles. And barramundi do have the uniqueness of their size. So when you get onto a metre-long fish, that genuinely is going to work you to your limits, even with the rod technology that we have now.
It's nice to get up there and have your name in lights occasionally, or have your moment in the sun. But having been there and done that, the most important thing is catching up with old friends and having fun on the river.
You get to speak to so many different people that do other styles of fishing, and just having people together that have the same love of this fantastic sport, and being able to spend a week together, and I think it's really good.
This is where we go to radio silence. They don't know who's in the lead. Having said that, look, camp gossip works. They will know on the end of day 4 who is the person to beat.
A lot of games and stories and rumours, but yeah, that's the fun part of it.
I cross my fingers and say that we got across the board. So we go out with a game plan, and day 1, our game plan worked. We were up there. We had a great first day, we had a good second day. Third day, wheels fell off. We struggled. As the tides increase, that's where a real fisherman becomes a fisherman.
On the move, look, they really fished well, and they shouldn't be in any way disappointed with where they're at, but in not quite putting down the foot and absolutely going for broke in that last day to make sure of it, they managed to get their tactics wrong.
To spend the afternoon on the water with 15 odd people this afternoon, which was just the absolute brilliance. It's just, the whole week's been awesome.
The last day we just went fishing because the game was over, and we caught 22 fish, which was about what we were doing in the pre-fish, including an 83 and a few 70s. And we ended up 10th overall. The last day was a bit of a catch-up, but yeah, would I like a replay? Yeah, of course I'd like a replay. Change some decisions, but that's the way it goes.
In a competition, you really need to focus in on what you're really good at and just stick to it, and if it doesn't come off, it's just not your day. On the last day, they reverted back to what they know how to do. Overall, I think they should be pretty happy with their event. Barra Apprentice had a pretty reasonable last day.
We knew we were a little bit early for the spot. We just spot locked and anchored, basically just relaxed. And then I think it was like a couple of casts after we actually got up and started fishing. That moment that it hit, my heart almost raced up through my throat. The adrenaline started pumping through my body, and I was just nervous the whole fight as well. These barramundi here fight really hard in the river systems, and just getting it to the boat. It did a few turns and flips at the side of the boat, and that's where you can normally lose them, the lure popping out of their mouth and things like that. But thankfully this one stayed on, and the elation that came after that was amazing. No more pressure. It was just like a weight had lifted off my shoulders. I didn't know why, but it took me 5 days to actually put a fish to the boat.
Yeah, she shouldn't be feeling in any way down with that. If I was her, I'd be feeling very excited by the fact that she came, she got barramundi, she got the skirt off. So from that point of view, I'd suggest that's mission accomplished. Edge on the last day didn't have a big day. For them, they had a quiet day. If they had have stayed pretty close to what they had the previous days, they would have come very, very close to breaking the record. They certainly had their system down pat.
I don't think I would have done anything different. Everything worked perfectly except for today. We could have trawled, we could have jagged a metery, but could have jagged one casting too. But no, I wouldn't have done anything different.
I think that there's just a new way to fish. The technology has now gotten to a point where the guys who've got the best technology and know how to use it are going to have a massive, massive advantage going forward.
Team Edge rods. Guys,
The river is so beautiful. Going down there as the sun's rising behind you and seeing all the paper barks lit up in red from the cliffs, you know, on the way down the river, and everything is just super amazing.
You know, we're in an air-conditioned Winnebago van, which is a far cry from the tents I'm used to. The event was really well run, and it's more about, like, I've made lots of lifelong friends through the competitions up here, and the fishing's only a part of it.
I want to bring my husband back up to experience the river. He's never seen the Daly, and I've been telling him about it all week, and really love him to experience this. Definitely would love to do more in the territory.
Your wildest dreams come true up here. It's just amazing. I love it. I'd come back any day of the week. You know, I'd love to live here. It's different. It really is.
The catch rates were more than acceptable. There's one fish per fisher per day, which in competition terms, that's right up there. There's only one river in the system that I'm aware of that's got a better catch rate than that at the moment. In terms of the experience to be had here, the guys just fish their hearts out every day, and this was absolutely as good an event as you're ever going to see.
For all of us, we've always wanted to come to the territory. It's got that allure that you want to come and do it.